bet.
All right, so we are on and popping. We are live. You already know.
Two dudes on a podcast.
Facts, facts, facts. You already know. Wesley the actor. You know,
IRA specialist.
you know the vibes. You know the vibes. So today we talking more about like ego, right?
Or just self identity. Like,
Self
how do
identity.
we identify with the self? Like,
Mm-hmm.
ego is one way to identify with the self,
Mm-hmm.
but, there's other ways, there's your higher self as well.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, there's, you know, just like lower desires. I feel like you could call it. Um, temptations.
Mm-hmm.
Like because like we were going through like the 82-day challenge. It's like this thing in tarot when you get a deck of tarot cards and you go through all of the cards day by day, reading about the concept of the card, and we like discuss it. um, and yesterday was the devil card, which represents like, but that card is also ruled by Capricorn as well. So it's just a card that represents challenge, and it comes after resurrection. So it's like after you are resurrected and you take this step into embodying your higher self, there's going to be like this challenge, this temptation of lower desires. That's going to be like, are you going to go back to what you were doing, or are you going to continue to, you know, be in tune with your higher self and take those steps instead of being caught up in what you were doing in the past?
Mm. That's interesting. That's real interesting.
So,
Like I didn't even.
yeah,
I think that's
because like it's climbing the mountain, and literally, like, are you going to fucking you fall? Are you going to get back up and keep climbing the mountain? Or are you just gonna let that defeat you and stay down on the ground when you wanted to climb the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, that's really interesting because
But
sometimes we
yeah,
don't. Yeah.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sometimes like we don't realize that the things of our past are things of our past. Like it's something that I remember something that I recall when you were talking about the card was 90% of our thoughts we thought about today we thought about yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, and if we start to go back to those 90% thoughts, then we continue on in that same exact cycle that we just left. You know what I mean?
And
So
I'm actually glad you reminded me about that, because
yeah.
I remember when we talked about that, like before, like in school, like
Hmm.
we were talking about that,
Hmm.
and that shit had me right for for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, just that thought, like, you thought about 90% of the same things yesterday,
Hmm.
you know, like, just that thought is like, how can you insert newer thoughts into that? How can you push past that,
Hmm.
because that's just reliving the same stuff every day.
Hmm.
So how would you like relate that to self-identity?
So going back to self identity, the thing is, I relate it sort of like this. Like if you look in a mirror, you see yourself, but the reflection that you see in the mirror isn't really yourself. It's a reflection of you, which is almost the opposite of what you're seeing, right? Now, because it's showing you a reflection that's not actually true. Does that make
No,
sense?
yeah, no. I'm just laughing because this is so funny, because I was watching Flash yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and like the villain was like this lady who could manipulate mirrors
Mm-hmm.
and send out evil reflections of people into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And like, the people who went missing, you couldn't really tell because like the mirrors were like pretty much the same general reflection of them,
Yeah.
except for like certain things that, but like you look at them and you would see their reflect like the person because
Mm-hmm.
that was their reflection, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really them. So I see where
See,
you're coming
you see
from.
how it goes, man.
Yeah,
People know this information.
synchronicities, man.
Yeah, but
But continue.
one of the things that I've always looked towards was successful people, and I wanted to know what was their reflection. Why is it that they see themselves? Because the thing is, success is sort of like what you see yourself. If you see
Hmm.
yourself as successful, you'll do successful things. But if
Yeah,
you don't see yourself as successful, you'll do what you used to do.
yeah.
And this is the reflection, right? So I used to look at people and see what is it that these people are looking at. And obviously I learned that people are flawed. I realized that I am flawed myself. So I had to look towards something that wasn't flawed, something that was more secure, and that was the love around us. And the
Mm,
thing is that love around us is a mirror of us, but it's a mirror of our true self, not our ego self that we see in the mirror.
exactly.
You
Hmm.
know, and you can actually see love reflected in literally everything except for humanity right now, which is really crazy because
Hmm.
we're the manifestation of love. You see it in
And
so many things.
that's exactly why the planet is suffering,
Mm-hmm.
because if
Mm-hmm.
the humans aren't, in balance and are causing a whole bunch of distress and destruction, like the universe is going to, as a result, be distressed and,
Mm-hmm.
be destructive.
Exactly.
It's all connected to that love, like you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
because, at the core of it all is love, unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that is definitely a self that we can identify with,
oh yeah.
the side of unconditional love that um, is everything, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because, it's science. Everything is energy. Science has proved that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you look at that and you ask the question, okay, everything is energy, can I really be like change my vibration frequency and like change my life? Then you have to see like, yeah, that can actually happen, but it's through action and, taking real steps
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. So, you know,
To make that like practical though, I feel like we have to find out what others have done, or what is
yeah.
it that the world is doing that we're not doing. Like I
And
like
what
to
is it that you want to?
yeah, true, true. Like look at like the background behind you, right?
Hmm.
Look at how I think it's I'm pretty sure it's like the globe, but look how
Hmm.
perfect the circle is around it.
Hmm.
And the thing is like that's that has to be love. The thing is even creating something as beautiful as the planet itself is based around that love because you can see that it basically looks like it's a perfect circle.
Yeah.
You know, that's say if you were just putting something together, it wouldn't have looked like a perfect circle.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been so pure to a point where it's together, whole, like a circle. You know what I mean? But all of that has to play a part in what we have to be doing. Like the action behind everything is literally just breathe.
Just what?
Just breathe. Like
Mm.
that's the actual action because look, anybody, regardless of rich, poor, slave, or free, can breathe, right? And we can all be free in our breath. And I look at a lot of like different understandings of what people have done and what people have said, and even like sacred texts, and like yogis would call it prana,
Mhm.
like Christians would call it the breath of life.
Yeah.
Everybody has a name for this thing. And this is how we're connected to that unconditional love, because that breath literally flows in us and flows out of us. But we have no control over if we have a next breath. That's the crazy part. That's how it shows us like it's bigger than just us, because we don't know if we're going to have a next breath, but the breath or the unconditional love does know when our last breath is going to be. Like,
Mm.
I like to do studies on like history and stuff. Like, there was people that used to live like 900 years, bro. Like, and we can't even live to like 120 now. The reason why is literally because we forgot how to breathe.
Yeah.
But if we learn how to one, and this is the action, like I said before, if we learn how to take the deep breaths that we're supposed to take, we can live as long as possible, but in unconditional love, though. And this is the
Mm.
thing, it takes us getting away from our human impurities, because these human impurities, like going back to what I was saying before, paper, you know, paper is something that's outside of us, but what is inside of us is our breath, holding on to something that's greater than ourselves. If we teach people how to breathe correctly again, and now mind you, if we learn how to breathe correctly, stress, it doesn't stifle our breath anymore. Things that will hold us back. Oh, I'm tired. Things like that, they don't hold us back anymore. Like, because we're focused on our breathing.
Yeah, there's definitely, yeah, um, there's definitely stuff that supports that, like breath work and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm,
Doing that definitely does clear your mind and oxygenate your blood so that like you're energized,
mm-hmm,
Um, like I definitely see where you're coming from.
mm-hmm,
And like that's like a thing that is something that we have to be conscious of. That's something
yeah,
that I try to be conscious of,
mm-hmm,
like, just breathing properly. But
mm-hmm.
I gotta, I gotta, I'm still learning,
Of course.
but
But I feel
you're
like the
true.
things around us can actually teach us that thing. Like, I'm gonna go back to the circle of the earth. It's literally a perfect circle. Now, I'm not saying that the earth is breathing, because we don't really know that. But what I am trying to say is it gives us an example of what that circle is supposed to look like. The thing is, a full breath is like a circle. You know what I mean? So we took a full breath in, obviously, that expands our stomach, and we take a full breath out, which depletes our stomach of the air. But like something as simple as that, just doing that for what, 5 minutes a day, can help us just to recenter and refocus on like who
Mhm.
who we are. Like,
Yeah.
because the things we can't control, a lot of the things in this world, we can't even control if we successful, you know? But yeah, we can't control any of that. But what we can control, we can at least control that. If
Yeah.
we breathe in as even if it's like for 5 minutes, and then going back to the stress of the world, but at least you got that 5 minutes in,
Word.
and
So
I feel
how
like,
does that,
huh?
how do we relate that to self-identity? You
Well,
know?
that's the thing though. If we find our self identity in short breaths, then we're gonna shorten our life. But if we find our identity in unconditional love, which is structured in breathing, which is not structured in the things that we have, the materialistic life, then we realize that everything is going to be okay. Even if we had no food right now, even if we had no roof over our head right now, can you still breathe? Then you're still living the best life that you can possibly live. Like,
Mm.
it just shows you that the circumstance on the outside is not the circumstance in the inside.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's how an ego is found. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I want to relate it back to the lady who made Harry Potter. You know, this lady was
J.K.
living on the
Rowling.
street. Yeah, J.K. Rowling. She was living on the street before she wrote her first Harry Potter book, and then she became a billionaire. Right now, mind you, this lady was living on the street. but she realized that she was way bigger than just some normal average individual. She was able to bring this $1 billion idea out of her mind. Now, mind you, that takes a lot of breathing because we got to focus on the breath to get the idea out of our mind to give it to reality. Because, like,
I
going
like,
back to,
yeah, I
go ahead.
like what you like bringing it the idea of breath and mind together because
Hmm.
you know, breath is the element of air, and the element of air is the mind. You know,
Yeah.
it's centered around the mind. So, you know, because like thoughts can pass by like, you know, clouds, you know. So when, and also when you breathe deeper and you breathe in a more rhythmic way, you can clear your mind. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's what like meditation is about and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Learning breath, learning to just breathe, sit and breathe so that your mind can be like
At peace.
at ease for a while. Yeah.
Because that's the issue, man. Like, our minds are literally doing everything except for doing what it's supposed to do, be at peace. You know, like that's the only
Because
thing it's
we're
actually supposed to do.
creating a whole bunch of problems, you know,
Yeah.
as we, it's like emotional too, because like, um, you know, we're not usually taught how to understand emotions,
Hmm.
I'd say. So that leaves us like kind of like not knowing what to do when stuff like comes up and how to
Hmm.
express it. And you know that's how you can like create a whole scenario in your mind and then have that scenario keep playing over and over and over. And for one, it doesn't even have to happen, or you know, it could have happened, but now you're just beating yourself up for it, you know,
Hmm.
all in your mind because you don't know how to really deal with the emotions
Yeah.
inside, you know.
Hmm.
So that's definitely um where breathing could come back in,
Hmm.
just centering, just finding a breath to center, and then that aligns you with your higher self, you know,
Hmm.
when you try to uh bring in like identity into it.
Yeah. Like,
You know.
I feel like that was actually the purpose of all these great individuals. Like, all these people literally are trying to teach us how to breathe. Like I'll give you an example. Like, I'll start with Gandhi. He didn't know how to breathe at first, but he learned how to breathe, which is the reason why he was so important. Now remember, he just sat
Mm.
under the Bodhi tree. That's all he did, right? I mean, of course, I'm pretty sure he
Wait,
like wrote
you mean Buddha?
Buddha. Yes, I apologize. I said Gandhi. I'm wilding. But even that person, all he learned how to breathe,
Yeah.
and when he learned how to breathe, he was able to teach
He
because
what?
he was able to teach. He was able to give back to these other individuals who didn't know how to breathe,
Mm.
right? And like, even and the thing with even Jesus, right? So I don't like his I don't use his his English name, but his entire life he took perfect breaths. That's it. That's
Really?
why he was so important. But this is the thing. If we learn how to take our perfect breaths,
Well, I think it's definitely more than that.
no, no, don't get me wrong. It's more than that, but I'm saying it starts with that.
Mm.
It starts with the very basic foundational things. Now, of course, there's more to all of these people's stories, but it starts off with perfect breath.
Mm.
There's more to our story as well, but we have to take perfect breaths to get to our true destiny. Not
Yeah.
stifling ourselves anymore.
You know, because it's funny that we're talking about breath now because I was watching Demon Slayer the other, like a week ago, whatever,
Hmm.
and their whole thing is like he's obviously a demon slayer. And he has a sword, but the technique that he uses relies on him controlling his breathing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So like it's literally called total concentration breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So like just and then we're having this conversation about focusing on breath. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
Um
it all comes and plays a part. The thing
yeah.
is, like my brother was telling me about this the other day. He was saying that now my
Wait,
brother, he
I
was.
just want to say
Oh,
one
go
more
ahead, go
thing.
say it.
Because like the sword that he uses, it produces like a water attack at the same time. And we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about how like water relates to emotions, and we were talking about how emotions can be turbulent. But like if you have control over your breath, you can control your emotions, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So and your thoughts also, and your
Yeah,
thoughts.
it all
So
comes full circle.
so
Um,
like, it's just I'm trying to bring in like
yeah, bring all the different perspectives, and that's the thing though. Everything is used for your good. You know, the way that we see things. Like I had to realize that it goes a little bit further and deeper than that, but we'll go deeper I guess, in another lecture because if we talk about deeper, it's gonna go in a whole different, you know, level.
who?
Like deeper than just like the actual breath. Like what does the breath actually create? I realized that the breath is actually connected to our superpowers, and our superpowers are really simple. Like we think of our senses, right? What we taste, what we touch, what we feel, what we hear, what we taste. These things are connected to our superpowers. Our superpowers. Now, mind you, each of these are five senses, but all those five senses are one because they're all physical. Touch, right?
Mhm.
That's all. That's one superpower. All
Oh
of
yeah,
what we do
I
right
remember
there is
this
a
one.
simple superpower, But from it goes from not just the touch, but it goes to symmetry, the difference between good and bad. Now, good and bad is subjective to the individual, but good and bad is not good or bad the way that we see it. It's all one thing. It's all connected, right? And that's through our eyes. Now, mind you, this is how our superpower of our eyes works because we see the difference between good and bad, but symmetry is one thing, right? So that's our superpower through our eyes. Now, mind you, this happens through our breathing because our brains are connected to our breathing. Then all of it is connected, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we can go into that lecture in a different day because that's gonna go way deep. We could talk about that for days. But but each sense is connected to a superpower, which is crazy, crazy. When I found that out, bro, I was just like, yo, if we learn how to breathe, we can literally do exactly what these other individuals have done.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to
And
learn
do
how to
it
breathe
our
first,
own way.
of course. But and this is what I mean. Like once we have that foundation, we know who we are already, so we know what we're capable of. You know what I mean? So all of it will come full circle. But we have to literally start with our foundation of breath. If we know our breath, then we can literally do anything else.
Mm. This is yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly, yeah. I'm inspired to really start actually working on this like consistently.
yeah. I was actually thinking about creating like a course. This is like later on, but like if by the time the course is put together, we'll put a link in the description. But I was thinking about putting the course together where it's like how to maintain your superpowers, like different things that you can do to do that. Now, mind you, it's all breath work, and it has to do with who we are. Because the thing is,
Have you used do you use like Wim Hof method?
not necessarily but I'm gonna add that into the course though, because
What method do you use for breath work?
so what I do personally is
Yeah.
I do like a body scan, right?
Okay.
A body scan is I lay out on the bed or the floor or the yoga mat, and I just feel my body. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what I first need to do is feel my heartbeat, right? But I have to feel it in my chest. Even if my hands are on the ground, I have to feel the vibration on my chest, the heart beating. But then after I know that I can feel that, I have to learn how to feel that through my entire body. First starting with my hands, moving down to my feet and my legs, in my brain, feeling each and every part of it as if the heartbeat is going through the entire vibration of my entire material body.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how I know that I've gotten the right breath work, because the thing is, the heart actually does the same thing as the mind. It also holds these same superpowers, but on a grander scale, because it can also breathe, because that's where the breath goes through. The good and bad air goes through the heart. Like, so it's like really crazy. It's like really crazy. And this is why I wanted to put a whole course together for it. And then on top of the course, create a book, you know, for like just to put it all together. But um starting with that first, breathing through the whole body. Oh, just breathing through the whole body, and then actually participating in yoga. But the yoga that I do is not the yoga of the yogis, but the yogis. I mean, but the yoga of the forest. Like, I think about it this way: what does the tree do all day? All it does is raise its hands up high and receive its blessings of the fruits. That's the yoga of the trees. Now, the only reason I do
Are
the
you
yoga
just
of the
doing
tree,
tree pose?
I do tree pose basically. Yeah, I do tree pose, and I do two more. So I do tree pose, I do eagle pose. Now, and I'm gonna explain why I do eagle pose in a second. But I do eagle pose, and I also like look at the sun. Now, the reason why I look at the sun, I'm gonna start there first. The reason why I look at the sun is because the sun will show me a truer, because it's not as true, because the sun is imperfect as well. But it would show me a truer version of myself. Like, I'll give you an example. If I was a person of the sun, if my reflection looked like the sun, and the reason why the sun was reflecting was because it looked at me. Now that I brought that in, but as I look at the sun, now mind you, I cover it up, because the thing is, the rays around it can like blind you. That's the issue. But if you block out the rays and only look at the small dot of the sun, you realize that you're looking at a reflection of yourself. It looks just like you. Like, that's crazy. But you can actually look up people of the sun. Like, you can Google that. There's people that are like that. That's that. I'm
Yeah,
just saying hyper.
sun
Huh?
gazing is like sun gazing.
Oh yeah. Say it. Yeah, they
Sun
call it sun
gazing is
gazing.
like really good for you, apparently. If you do it right, you have to do research to that.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
definitely,
much about it, so I'm
definitely,
not gonna
definitely.
say.
I was
And
actually
do
gonna
your
put
own
all the
research,
research. Yeah, definitely.
and you could do that. But
Yeah, I was gonna put it in my course, but just so
mm,
they knew how to do it specifically. I'm just explaining like a very rough copy, because going into it is a whole story
yeah,
and a half. But yeah, anyway, sun. But doing exactly what the trees do, because what do? They bring oxygen. So that means that pose must also bring oxygen to my body, because
yeah,
that's the reason why they keep growing taller and taller.
yeah. And I like how you brought the sun in, because the sun is literally self-expression. That's what the sun, if you you know, follow like the zodiac and the planets, the
Hmm.
sun relates to self-expression, ego, self-identity, who we identify as, your sun sign. I'm a Capricorn sun, you know.
Yeah.
So
So you know the vibes.
exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's literally facts. The sun is a reflection of you, you know.
So
So
instead of looking in the mirror, imagine like if you were in the sun, what would that look like in your life? Like, how would you? Because real, think about it this way: if the sun itself was a planet and you lived on that planet, right? You would literally be
hot as fuck.
like, yeah, mad. Like, you would just be like the best looking that you can possibly look, but you would never have to struggle, because you live in that struggle. You are the struggle. You know what I mean? Like, you've conquered the struggle.
Life is the struggle.
Exactly. But you don't have to suffer through your life.
Exactly. That's the thing. Stuff it's a difference between pain and suffering.
Yeah.
Pain is inevitable.
Hmm.
Suffering you bring on yourself, you
Exactly.
know. So
So yeah, it all goes hand in hand with understanding self and the ego. You know, like all of it plays a part in this. You know, like even going back to what you were saying before with the demon slayer, you know, we have to deal with the demons of our life,
hmm
but we can literally slay them with our breath, with our breath work. You know, all of it plays a part in what we do. You know, because we can all breathe, and if we breathe correctly, we're not tempted to do what these demons are telling us to do anymore. Because they literally in our ear. Like I learned this like in Islam. What they do is they have two things on their side. There's a good and there's a bad, right? There's basically two different things whispering in your ear all day. This is basically like their analogy,
okay.
right? The analogy is they have, I think good is on the right side and the bad is on the left side. But they tell you different things in your ear, and then you either do the good or you do the bad.
Uh-huh.
If I'm not mistaken, they're called um I forgot what the name now. I forgot, but it's like a welcoming these two things. Because when they pray, they welcome these two things so that they're at peace with it. Because if you're at peace with good and bad, you have clairvoyancy. You can see the truth.
Mm,
You know, because there's some good and some bad, and there's some bad and some good.
yeah.
That's why good and bad is subjective to the person
hmm
because people see
And
good and bad
also,
differently.
sometimes the good, yeah, exactly. Like you were
Yeah.
just saying, like you just said.
hmm Like that's why like when people tell other people what to do, like it's almost like they're telling them the wrong thing because who are they? You know what I mean? Like don't get me wrong, like if that's your parent, then the parent obviously wants you to be raised a certain way. But not everything that somebody tells you is pure. The only way to find out that purity is by literally facing your demons. And these
hmm
demons are
Finding out
created
what's true to yourself.
exactly,
Which self do you identify with? Your
exactly.
lower self, your ego self,
hmm
or your higher self.
It's up to
And
you.
also remembering that at the same time, it's all different parts of ourselves.
hmm
So we need all parts, higher self, lower self, ego self,
hmm
shitty self,
Yep.
awesome self.
hmm
It's all a part of who we are at the end of the day. And,
hmm
the lesson that we're here to learn.
Yep. And once we've learned that lesson or finished our mission, peace. You know,
Word.
we out of here because then we can actually meet that higher self. You know,
Mhm.
and that's the thing though.
It's
Like
just returning back to where we were before we came in.
exactly, but with a newly found knowledge.
hmm
You know, with an understanding deeper than what we had before,
Of what?
an understanding deeper than what we had before.
Yeah. Because you I, it was one of Logic's albums. I think it was Shift. Uh, uh, yeah, I think it was Everybody. And like he had Neil deGrasse Tyson like narrate basically that story, the egg story pretty much.
Oh yeah.
And the egg story is pretty much, actually go look it up if you haven't seen it, look it up. The egg story is on YouTube, and he had it being narrated, and they were talking about, the guy who died was talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who was like the like guide of the space, like, and he was saying, yeah, you're just living this lifetime to learn these lessons and go back until you are as wise as me, and then you're doing this for someone else. type of. So it's just like there's so much more than just this life. So we also have to remember to identify with that um, in this life, to remember that, if there is so much more, we can't always let everything that happens to us now hinder us from, continuing to strive to be better and strive to be someone who embodies that more um, in our life, in our lifetime, you know.
Yep. So yeah, it all plays a part, man. It all comes full circle. And
Yeah,
I like the egg idea because the egg kind of looks like a vesica Pisces,
yeah.
and that's kind of interesting.
Hmm.
'Cause-
Yeah, that, yeah. Because yeah, it's funny that you say that because well, no, it's not really on topic, but we could discuss that another time. Vesica
yeah,
Pisces, we could go into that
yeah,
whole
that could be a whole
link.
session in itself. That's a
So
whole
yeah, we're gonna
three-part
make
series.
another video about the Vesica Pisces, the five superpowers,
Oh yeah.
breaking down all these concepts.
Hmm.
We're just big thinkers out here trying to change the world,
Right.
starting one podcast at a time.
That's all we can do.
you know? Yeah, man. So I hope that you guys are all having a great day out there, and thank you for tuning in.
Facts. And keep breathing.
Keep breathing.